Welcome to the Growth Catalyst Show, where we believe that growth could come in many forms: professional, personal, company, sales, you name it. I'm your host, Dan Mahoney, founder of Transcendent Sales Solutions and a guide to a world of growth possibilities. I've spent my career empowering companies and their people with strategies that accelerate growth. I'm here to bring you stories of these business leaders and their trusted advisors to gain insights into their journeys and learn how they fuel their own growth. Just maybe their journey could become part of your own growth story. Are you ready? Let's grow. Welcome to the next edition of the Growth Catalyst Show. I'm your host, Dan Mahoney. I'm excited to have my next guest here today. Steve Nevin is a partner at B2B CFO. He is known as a change agent with a proven ability to translate a company's financial results into initiatives that improve the bottom line. During his 30 plus years of a professional career, he has served as a CFO, COO, and president of privately held and public traded companies as small as 2 million and as large as 600 million. Steve, welcome to the Growth Catalyst Show.
Thank you, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. And God, looking at, we've known each other for many years, and every time I seem to learn new stuff about you, and preparing for you as a guest today, I don't know where to start. We could be here we could make this into a 3-part episode, but we're going to have to use our time wisely. So, I want to start is, where are you actually? Of course, you're here in Atlanta now, but where did it all start for you? Where are you from?
I'm a New Yorker, Dan, originally from outside of the city in Long Island. And my dad had a business in Manhattan, grew up in New York with an older brother. And we both of us went out to school in the Midwest. That's what people did back in the day, growing up in the New York area. We both went to schools in Ohio. But eventually I worked my way back for a while, working in the city. I was working at Citibank for 4 years there. So New Yorker, but haven't been back in many years. So
yes, and I don't know if you want to go back, but sorry, anybody listening is New Yorker, not to offend, but I saw that you went to school in Denison University. You're now the third most famous person I know there that's famous. Steve Carell, is it? And Jennifer Garner
that's right.
were so some of your classmates.
Yeah, I didn't see Jennifer on the campus or Steve, but so I was there.
And then you found your way to Wisconsin for an MBA?
Yeah, and I did that in part because, Dan, when I was at Denison, I accepted a commission in the Air Force ROTC, and I really wanted to keep out of Vietnam and missile silos. So I said, well, I'm going to go get an MBA up in Wisconsin. The Air Force let me do that. And it turned out to be really good, except I had to do it through a year and a half. But, going to school in Wisconsin for 2 summers up there, it wasn't bad duty at all. So
no, that's a nice place. Being a Chicagoan, been up there many times. And well, thank you for your service and appreciate that. And I saw that, and I'm sure that led to, you are a flight instructor, you aviation, you like to golf, ski, road bike, read. What is it is there anything you don't do?
Yeah, well, my body, is telling me that, that particular list is narrowing down over the years. My mind says there's nothing I can do, I can't do. But so still actively involved with golf and biking and running and reading and stuff like that. But got to keep busy. That's the key, Dan. Got to keep busy.
Amen. Because when we're not busy, what are we going to do, right?
Yeah, turn to dust. So we're not going to let
that. That's right. So, and again, I mentioned in your introduction that you had so many different positions, but I also look back and it sounds like you had some business development and sales roles as well, too.
I did, as a matter of fact. In fact, out of the Air Force, combining aviation, my first job was actually a district sales manager with Cessna Aircraft Company. I was out selling airplanes to dealers up in the New England area. And it was an interesting period. I had a lot of fun, didn't make any money, but I was having fun flying airplanes and stuff like that. But as a result of that stint, and then after that, I went to Citibank in New York and I started my finance career. I realized that, selling a commodity or selling something, a product wasn't my thing. Whereas consultative sales, service, professional services and sales, which let's face it, all of us are selling ourselves. But
Mhm.
I came to realize that that was really more my forte. And so, and it's of course interesting. You have to go through your careers to realize it. But where I'm sitting right now as a partner in B2B CFO is ironically a perfect fit for me.
And we're going to talk a lot about B2B CFO in a minute, but going through your career, all of your experiences, I'm sure you've had some memorable positions and some things you learned along the way. Give us a couple that come to mind of things that really shaped and put you in the role that you're in today.
Well, of course, those who know me know that I was the CFO at ValueJet Airlines here in Atlanta, Georgia, which had, of course, a lot of worldwide publicity, both good and bad. I did that IPO and was there with the founders, and that experience really had a significant impact on me because we went through, the best of times. It was an incredible startup. Started making money like the first month we started operations, which is unheard of. And of course, we were taking share right away from Delta Airlines, which is also unheard of. But then fast forward a couple of years, and then we had that terrible crash, and the FAA stepped in, and we went through all sorts of horrible, difficult times. And you can imagine the stress that I went through my family. And in fact, I have a picture of me and my family about 6 months after that horrible crash. And I look like a different person. I look like, I'd aged about 20 years. When I think about my career, I look back at ValueJet, and actually some of the best work I've ever done was during that very, very difficult time period, both personally and also professionally. Because really, just like everything in life, it's easy to be successful when the sun is shining, and everything is just going just perfect. But when it's quite the other way, that's when individuals have to step up and perform. And I look back and I was pretty proud about how I had to go through that, and I actually succeeded. But I've been fortunate, as you point out, I've had a number of different opportunities to grow professionally and personally. I was a CFO of Atlas Air out in Colorado, and that was a New York Stock Exchange company, and significant growth period that I experienced with them. Yeah, and I was president of Integrated Airline Services, the largest U.S. ground handler. That was a situation where the owner of the company, a very famous aviator, Terry Combs, his attorney called me and brought me in. They were in trouble. And so he and I spent 2 years working together to turn that business around. So I've been very blessed and very fortunate to have an experience in working in these different companies and making a difference.
Well, it's amazing, and I can't imagine just telling you a story about ValueJet. Just that I can't imagine the stress and what that would be on you or
Yeah,
anyone.
it was difficult for my family, and but again, what is it? What makes you what I forget what the saying is, but stress can supposedly make you stronger and all of that stuff. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
No,
So
not that for sure. Not that for sure. Well, let's talk and let's get into B2B CFO. And I know you've been with B2B CFO. It's about, we both started, I started fractional work about the same time you did. I was about 6 years ago, wasn't it?
yeah, that's right.
So tell me a little bit about B2B CFO and tell us about the firm.
Well, the firm has been around since 1987. It was founded by a former Arthur Anderson auditor named Jerry Mills. And Jerry today remains our, well, founder, but he is very active as the CEO of the firm. We're a little bit like a law firm in the sense that all of the partners are K1 owners in the firm. So each and every one of us, um, if you will, had a buy in. to join the firm. There's about 140 of us nationally. And I'm going to guess we're serving today about 2,000 companies nationwide. Here in Atlanta, I'm the practice leader for Georgia, and Georgia is rapidly becoming one of the larger regions for our firm. We're up to now 11 partners in the firm, and we just interviewed another candidate last week. And Jerry started this business. I mean, Jerry's a brilliant man. He started the business wanting to change his business perspective. You know, working in an audit firm, you're basically you are a historian. You're responsible for looking at the financials and making sure that they're accurate with the business owners. And he wanted to make a change because he had run into several clients who were having difficulty. And, the story goes, after one client meeting, he went home and told his wife, he said, I think I want to do something different. I think I'd like to start a business where we can look forward with the business owner and see if we can be a very good problem solver in helping that business move forward to where they want to go. So he started B2B CFO. And what's interesting is that he said to himself, I'm not going to worry about training CFOs. I'm just going to go out and recruit the best out there. But what I do have to worry about is training our partners on how to learn comfortably and confidently to acquire business. Because most CFOs, have been in offices 9 to 5, and it's a closed-in business. And most don't necessarily have to have had experience in sales, for example, or, to have built that confidence to be able to network effectively and to know how to communicate and converse effectively. So he said, what we're going to do is put together a training curriculum so that those qualified CFOs who want to be members of our firm, we're going to train them how to create a network that you can develop for business. And so that's what we're all about. It's been wildly successful. We're the largest firm of its kind in the United States, and I'm going to guess in the world. And it's been a joy to be a part of it.
Let's take a moment for a quick word from our sponsor. This episode of the Growth Catalyst Show was brought to you by Transcendent Sales Solutions. Whether your company is facing uncertainty, declining sales, or resource limitations, Transcendent Sales has the solution. Their team has decades of experience helping businesses find alignment to meet their growth goals and transforming underperforming sales organizations into revenue-producing market leaders. They take a hands-on, results-oriented approach to solving sales challenges. Visit transcendentsales.com to learn more and subscribe to the bi-weekly Growth Catalyst newsletter for insightful growth strategies. Transcendent Sales Solutions, empowering businesses to reach new heights. And now, back to the show.
I know that all fractional CFO firms are not the same. It took me about a minute to learn that one is different than the other, because I know you guys are different. I always say there's the difference between the fractional advisor and strategic advisor versus someone who's doing the day-to-day fractional, like more controlling, more day-to-day. Is that a good way to describe the difference, where you guys are definitely on the strategic advisory side?
Yeah, that's a good start. You're right. One of our prime areas of differentiation is we are strategic. And what that means to the business owner is that, we're not about the bookkeeping. That doesn't mean that it isn't important. It is. And it also doesn't mean that we don't fix it. So half the time, Dan, when we go into a company, we discover that the business financial reporting is not sufficient for any number of reasons. And so it's almost a distraction. So what we have to do is first and foremost fix that. And we do that by assisting the owner in either developing in-house talent or recommending adequate outsourced talent. And we also help them set up the proper chart of accounts and so forth. But we don't do the actual bookkeeping. We rely on our clients' employees to do that. but we're very involved, of course, monthly in helping them and understand how to close the financials and stuff like that. So we use the financial reporting as the start of developing an effective database upon which we can drive the company forward, drive towards profitability. So that's one of the ways we're different. We look forward, we don't look back. Whereas I know that other players in this world, do want to do the bookkeeping. That's something that they want to do, and we respect that, but that's very different from us. There are several other differentiators that I would call on. I think you and I have talked about it. One of them is that our entire onboarding process with the client is very different. We'll take 8 to 10 hours of our own time to invest in a pretty detailed discovery process, which we call our gap diagnostic analysis. And what that means is that we'll take time to interview the owner, whoever's doing the financial reporting within the company. It could be a CPA, it could be a bookkeeper, whatever. And if, in fact, the spouse is also involved in the business, we'll do a separate interview with them because, not surprisingly, we hear different things. So we'll go ahead and do the interviews. We'll get financial information. We'll take a look at that information, do some analysis, and then we'll go ahead and benchmark the company against their peers. So at B2B CFO, we have our own software license that allows us to do that benchmarking process. And based on all of that information that we've collated and analyzed, we then come back to the owner with a strategy report and with a proposal. And so, it's very insightful right from the get-go for the owner to experience interfacing with B2B CFO. We want to deliver value right from the get-go. So that gap diagnostic analysis approach to onboarding a prospect is very, very, very important to us. We can't, in fact, we won't bring on a client without actually going through that process. And in most cases, it's a wow for the business owner. They've never had their business benchmarked. They've never had anybody really go through their business like we do. And all of that is complimentary.
Well, and yeah, because that's 8 to 10 hours, and then putting a proposal together. That's a big time commitment. It's a huge time commitment on your end, and I think it definitely wows them just to see how much somebody's showing that commitment before any dollars are received.
Yeah, it really makes a difference, and because of that, because of the investment that we make with these business owners, I think our rate of closure is pretty high. Typically, when we after 2 or 3 meetings with the owner, and we've been able to demonstrate our serious investment and understanding what's going on with them, both personally as well as professionally, we've already started building some good trust.
Yeah, and you'll know after probably the first or second meeting if it's a one you want the third, I'm sure.
Well, that's a good point. Not every business owner, prospect is a fit for us, and vice versa. There have been many occasions where after we start to get into this analysis, I can remember one recently where I just said to the owner, for these reasons, I don't think we're a good fit for you at this time. Let me refer you over to such and such or whatever it may have been. So yeah, and I'm reminding my partners of that all the time too, is that not every opportunity is a fit for us. So.
Absolutely. Well, I like to read, and one of the latest books I just picked up, and I like to read about exit, is I picked up one of these books that's from your firm, the Exit Journey Handbook. Just started going through it. Talk a little bit about it, because I've seen you carry one around a few times as well.
Yeah, we hand them out quite liberally. So
I bought one. Let the author know I actually purchased one.
Okay, I'll send a note to Jerry on that. Well, it's a differentiator. One of the reasons why I joined the firm is because we have a number of proprietary tools that really add a tremendous level of value to the business owner. And the B2B exit handbook is certainly, I mean, that's certainly one of those tools. It was one of the earliest books that Jerry has wrote. In fact, Jerry's written several award-winning books. The other one that comes to mind is called The Danger Zone. And another one he wrote is called Avoiding the Danger Zone. And those two books address how a company can outgrow its capital capability. In other words, you can grow so fast that you can run out of capital and cash. And that's something we've seen in the practice more than once. But the exit strategy handbook is kind of our reference work for any time we engage with a business owner who right from the onset tells us that their primary focus right now and for the next couple of years is preparing for a successful exit. And about half of our clients across the country today have engaged us to prepare them for an exit. So right from the get-go, we employ the book, and it's really a key reference work that's further supported by our software. So we've also got patents on software that are very complementary to the book, where we use that software to help track the company's valuation and to help prepare and maintain the due diligence process for a company that is looking to exit in the next couple of years. So these proprietary tools are not only differentiators, but they're a good reason why we are so successful in bringing and delivering value to our owners.
That's great. Well, I'm looking forward to finishing it. Tell me a little about anything you could share what you're working on now, anything interesting now that you're working on that comes to mind. I'm sure there's more than one.
Well, yeah. So I've got a client that's a securities integrator. This is a company that designs and installs very sophisticated perimeter security systems for governmental and commercial operators. So one of their largest clients is the Georgia Department of Corrections. So they do a lot of work on prisons here in Georgia. So a lot of time, I'm on the phone with my client, the owner, and he says, "Okay, I got to sign off. I'm walking into the warden's office," or whatever it is. And of course, the stories he tells from that interface action with this very important client is very intriguing. But with this particular company, I started working with them 3 years ago, and the owner, he really stepped in as the CEO because his dad. It's a 40+ year family business, legacy business, and unfortunately, his dad had a stroke a couple of years ago, so which really prevented him from running the business further. So he was in sales with the company already, and he had to step in to run the business. And I got a call from one of his attorneys saying, "Look, can you meet with this gentleman? He really is in a bind. He doesn't really know how to run a business, and unfortunately, he's in this situation." So when we started working together, and by the way, the owner, he's just a wonderful gentleman, very coachable, very bright. But when we started working together, the company was reporting losses, and they had difficulty trying to recover from the pandemic. But he's got so much energy and so much focus, and we really have meshed so well together that today his company is approaching 30 million in annual revenue and extremely profitable. And we're actually talking now about, maybe in 3 years, we should think about preparing for an exit. So he's gone from a terrible situation with his dad, who's still alive, thank God, where he was thrust into a difficult situation. And today now he couldn't be happier, and it's exciting, and all sorts of things are happening good with the business. So that's a great story. I've got others on the other side, but that's a good one. So.
The good ones. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Steve, and you covered a success story in talking about what you're working on. So that's great. So, we're just about out of time. We're just about out of time. I can't even talk on this Friday afternoon. What's the best way to get a hold of Steve Nevin and find out and learn more to what B2B CFO could do for a company?
Sure. So you can email me at Steve Nevin at B2BCFO.com. That's the letter B, number 2, letter B, CFO.com. Or you can go on our website, B2BCFO.com, where it shows all of our professionals and regional leaders, and you can learn about that. And if a business owner is thinking about, maybe preparing for an exit, we have a separate website for that called B2BExit.com.
Steve, I've really enjoyed the conversation today and getting your perspective and insight. And thanks for taking some time on the Growth Catalyst Show.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's a wrap. All right, Jeremy cuts it there. So that's it, Steve. Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for that.
It's good to hear about your client because I met your client.
Yeah,
so you remember
did.
a few years ago, I remember him. Sounds like he's doing well. That's great news, man. That's really good to hear.
Yeah. Well, Listen, thanks so much for having me do this. I very much appreciate it. You got any plans for the weekend?
This weekend, none, which is kind of nice because the next weekend, I'm actually going to Chicago with Hearn and a couple guys. Thursday, Friday next week, we're doing pizza, eating steak, smoking cigars, and going to a Cubs game. So there's like 5 of us. Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing an extended troika, we're calling it. So, and then then I got Father's Day weekend and birthday and the following week, and then this is my only week this month. I'm actually working the whole week because I got short week going into the following week, and then the last week of the month we're leaving at the end of June for the first week of July. Trip to Alaska. We're taking a cruise to Alaska.
Oh, how special! Well, that's wonderful. Yeah. I hear very, very good things about that cruise. So
that'll be I'll only have 3 states left to go after that. I'll still have to get to Wyoming, Montana, actually 4, Wyoming, Montana, South Dakota, and New Mexico. And then I'll have visited all 50. So
that's on your bucket list. Huh? Okay.
I got to get all of them. I got to figure out why I'm going to go to South Dakota. That's the only one I'm still trying to figure out.
Well, you can go sit down with Christy Nome. There you go. So
there you go. There you go. There you go. Well, hopefully you have some good weekend plan. Hopefully it's going to be nice. And thanks for taking some time, man. I really appreciate it. And it's good to see you, my friend.
All right, Dan. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Growth Catalyst Show. Remember, you can take these stories of growth and make them part of your own journey. Learn from them, draw inspiration, and let them guide your path of growth. I'm your host, Dan Mahoney, and I look forward to our next journey together. If you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, keep growing.